How long will your divorce take in Georgia? Well, the answer is it can vary, but let me give you some guidelines. So fortunately in Georgia, it's one of the quickest states in which you can get a divorce. If you come to me and you've got all your issues settled and we get your case filed as a fully settled case, you could be divorced within 30 days or so. But if you come to me and we've got all these different complications and we don't know what's going to happen with custody and money and property, well then there's really no way to tell exactly how long it's going to take. It could take 6 months, it could take 9 months, a year. It really depends on you, your spouse, and your particular situation. The legal steps in your divorce are that we file your divorce case, the other side responds, and then typically there's a period of what's called discovery, which means information gathering, information exchange. Now, what kind of info? We're talking about things like the financials, bank statements, tax returns, because what we need to do is we need to get the full financial picture out on the table so that we can evaluate it. We can talk about trying to settle the case if possible, or if settlement doesn't work, then the next step would be we go to mediation. And that's where a trained facilitator tries to negotiate a settlement between the parties. If that doesn't work, well then we end up having to gear up for trial. So in trying to get a divorce settled and get to a final resolution, the steps are going to be negotiation, mediation, and if none of that works, then it's litigation. And the timeline really is up to you and your spouse. Now, you can speed things up along the way if the two of you are starting to get tired of this and you realize, man, let's just not keep spending money and not wasting time. Let's get on with our lives. And that happens a lot in these cases, is that after a period of people being stubborn with each other, people start to get more reasonable and they just get focused on, let's just get this thing over with. If you end up having to go to court, the kind of documents that you're going to need in court are going to be your full financials so that you can show the court, here is the picture of my financial situation. Now, why do you need that? Well, in some situations, you might be the one who's trying to get the court to award you alimony or a better financial settlement. In other cases, you might be the one who's presenting all those documents to show the court that, hey, I'm not made of money. I can't give alimony. I can't give, this big amount of money that they want because maybe the other side is presenting to the court that my spouse has all this money, has all this financial wherewithal. So the more information you can show the court to be fully open with the court and fully disclose everything, then the better chance there's going to be of a fair financial settlement that's going to be in your best interest. Another document that you want to go to court with is the parenting plan. Now, a parenting plan lays out where the kids are going to be, when they're going to be with each parent, what the holiday schedule is going to be, what the pickup and drop-off times, the exchange times are going to be, where the exchange is going to take place. So if you end up going to court for your divorce, you've got kids, you definitely want to go into court with a proposed parenting plan for the court. One thing that judges hate to do, and this will shock you, they hate making decisions about kids. So the easier you can make their job, the better. So how do you do that? You go in with a well-defined parenting plan that makes it easy for the court to say, yes, this makes total sense. I'm going to sign off on it. I'm the judge. I'm going to sign off and I'm going to give you the parenting plan that you presented to me, that you proposed. When you're going through a divorce in Georgia, you're going to be required to go through mediation if you can't quickly get this case resolved on your own. So before you go to court for litigation, the court forces you to sit down with the other party with the help of a trained negotiator. Now, by the way, sitting down doesn't mean in the same room. Most of the time, mediation is actually done on Zoom calls, and you may not even see the other party. And so what a mediator does is spend some time talking to you, spend some time talking to the other side, and trying to be kind of like a broker of a deal. I think most of us are familiar with countries that are at war, at odds with each other. Maybe a third country will step in, the ambassadors, they try and help negotiate a settlement. We make that happen here locally in divorce cases through the use of a mediator who just kind of uses shuttle diplomacy, maybe that's a term you've heard in the news, and just try to broker a deal between two warring factions. Now, most of it, as I said, is done on Zoom, so maybe they'll be in a breakout room with you and a breakout room with the other party. Sometimes, if it seems like it'll be helpful, and if you and your spouse agree to it, everyone may be in the same Zoom room, or it could even be physically in person, but most of the time it's done in Zoom. But maybe you might all sit down together in the same room and see if we can hammer out a deal. Mediation is used, it's mandatory because it's incredibly effective. I've seen so many cases cases where the parties say, oh, we'll never be able to agree on anything. We need to go right to court. And guess what? Those are usually the cases where the mediator is able to negotiate a settlement between the parties, and that avoids litigation. It gets your case done. It saves you a ton of money if you can avoid litigation and get it done in mediation. Hey, if you have any questions about what to expect in Georgia divorce court or in mediation, go ahead and give me a call. Let's do a free case evaluation for you. Let's talk about your specific situation. We can give you some specific ideas on how we can help you.